You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Thursday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby, and if we could make the intro to the podcast quick today, I have to get home and make sure that my house isn't underwater.
What happened?
We had a burst pipe in the backyard again.
Oh, so it leaked into the basement or
Oh,
what?
dude, it's one of those ones where, like, the pipe comes out to the hose to the outside.
Did you shut off the valve to go outside?
I thought I did back in, like, August, because you know me. I don't water my grass, so I thought I shut it down way before the wintertime. Sure enough, last night, the dog starts going crazy, like, barking at the window. Kids hear something outside. We look, burst pipe, and right above, like, a basement cellar, like the well where the window goes to the basement, starts dripping down there. We're down in the basement trying to, like, squeegee water over to the sump pump.
Hey, man, I don't mean to scare you, but remember a couple of days ago when you told that story about seeing that ghost at the end of your street?
There's not a ghost in my neighborhood. Stop it.
It's all adding up now. You saw the ghost. It's attached itself to you. Now things are going awry at your house. This is the beginning of a horror movie.
Okay, but if I die, you have to avenge me. You know that, right?
I don't have to do shit, dude.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Would you rather use a porta potty in the winter or the summer? The only reason I ask, we got this message on the bad line yesterday.
You know what blows my mind is the fact that with all this AI technology and all this crap we have in 2025, how come we don't have heated porta potties? At least insulated porta potties. I know you guys got, Mr. Jobs in the warm studio out there, but it is fucking cold out there trying to take a dump.
There's got to be insulated porta potties or heated ones, right?
I'm sure that that's a thing that exists, but as a common, like, out there, that's got to be so much more expensive than a regular porta potty.
It's worth cheaping out for sure.
I have to imagine. It's like when you go to an office and they got one-ply toilet paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you cut corners where you got to cut corners.
I also feel like a heated porta potty would just stink after a while, wouldn't it?
There is a baked-in smell that's probably... You're going to need a lot more of whatever that blue goo is down the pipe to dose out the smell once it's been heated.
I mean, I only had to use porta potties for like a year when I worked for my uncle's demolition company. I'd honestly say I'd prefer using a porta potty in the winter than the summer.
Oh, absolutely not. I couldn't be more in agreement. I don't know if we've gotten a bad line call that I agree with more than the idea of the nightmare of sitting down flat-cheeked on a cold seat.
The porta potty is just hotboxed with farts. Yes, it sucks sitting on a cold seat. It's essentially a reverse ice fishing shack at that point. Mm-hmm. But I mean, have you ever had swass and tried to sit on one of those porta potties? You're like hydroplaning all over the seat.
You ever had swass and try to sit down on a frozen toilet seat? Guess what? You live here now.
True.
You've become one with the throne.
I just feel like based on like the smell and like you cook in the summer in a porta potty. Oh, you're literally dying, and especially if you're really dropping off some luggage, oh my God, you're going to lose 10 pounds in there.
I will say that I think I agree with you more than 50% of the time, because more than 50% of the time, if I'm using a porta potty, I'm just going number one. And number one in a cool box versus a hot box is preferable. But even just for those rare 1 out of 10 times where you got to go a number two and you got to sit, I can't be sitting in the wintertime. I can't be sitting in the cold.
It's an escape from the wind, actually. It's almost like a shelter spot.
You're true. You are getting down a
little bit
low.
of a show. You get to see the steam and everything, too.
But I mean, also, because your thing is the heat in the summertime. Heat rises. If you're sitting down, you're getting underneath that heat wave and the stink lines that are above you.
It's warming your ass up.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We've got friend of the show, Shane, on the phone. Shane, porta potty in the winter or summer? What says you?
The winter, yeah. I've used porta potties like in the Middle East when it was like close to plus 50, and then used them in Canada in minus 40 when the blue stuff is frozen, and I think based on that I would take Canada at minus 40.
What's that old saying? You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah, man.
This man has literally been to the ends of the earth in porta potties. That's wild.
Yeah, it's true. Heat just boils everything all together, and it's not good.
I don't like using the phrase boils.
That's what it is, dude. That's exactly what it is.
He's not wrong, but I'm still uncomfortable. uncomfortable.
A lot of people seem to have that same thought of like, they'd rather touch the cold seat than be in the hot box.
I did see maybe the best argument for my side of summer over winter that I've seen is the amount of clothing you have to maneuver your way out of in the wintertime to use the facilities is egregious.
Yeah.
But on the other side, like you were saying, almost every other text is like wintertime, the smell, the heat, all that stuff about the summer.
Plus, I mean, in the summer in general, like you can take off some layers, but you're still going to be hot. You know?
That's just it. You're cooking in there.
We do got friend of the show, Sean, on the phone. Sean, before we came on air, you were telling us about a great invention that you've seen on some job sites.
Yeah, so I experienced it this winter. Tomlinson actually has this, I think I described it as like a giant insulated jacket for the porta potty. And you got to make best with what you got. And if that's the best you got, then you make do.
So how does the porta potty jacket work?
So they wrap it around the porta potty. It zips shut. It just adds an extra layer of protection from the elements.
Oh, it's a literal jacket for the porta. Oh, okay.
Making sure your porta potty is bundled up for the weather is maybe the most Canadian thing we've heard today.
We were lucky. We had like a little heater in there too, so it was a wee bit toasty.
Like a space heater?
Yeah, a little space heater plugged in. To your question, I'd rather be in there in the wintertime. In the summertime, just the stank is too much.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought when he said they had a porta potty jacket, I thought it was like a jacket that all the fellas on the job site were sharing as they went in there.
A communal jacket, so you can take off all your work gear, you throw on the potty jacket, and you just try not to get any on it for the next guy.
Is that dirt or a stain? Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
You never want to know.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Such a bummer. Do you see all the Super Bowl commercials are already on the internet?
Yeah, me and Courtney were watching a compilation. Yeah.
Some of them are funny. Don't get me wrong. Like, ad companies are still bringing it. But that was like such a cool part of the Super Bowl, is you'd sit and you'd watch the game, and even if the game sucked, they'd go to commercial and you'd be like, everybody shut up, we want to see the commercials.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, the Super Bowl might be one of the few events that some people only watch cable, like, in an entire year for.
That's just it, right? Like, everything now is all about, like, ad blockers and streaming services and ad-free tiers and all that stuff. But the Super Bowl is still the one time when everybody's like, no, I want to make sure. We changed Canadian law so the Canadians could watch American Super Bowl commercials at one point.
Well, they were going to put a tariff on it, but
Yeah, but then now you just have to go on YouTube. It's Thursday. It was up last night. It was on Wednesday, 3 days before the game's even on, and it just feels like it takes some of the steam out of the commercials. Like, I just don't feel like they're as memorable anymore.
I will say this. The one good thing about them putting out the commercials like a week early is the fact that there's going to be a lot of people that won't watch the Super Bowl and be at your Super Bowl party and be annoying because they saw all the commercials, so they don't need to watch the game.
That is true. As somebody who's watching the game primarily, you will have less people sitting on the couch trying to talk to you, waiting for the commercials to come
Exactly. If only they could pre-record the halftime show. That way people could see it a few days in advance and they're not at the Super Bowl party.
Yeah, you just get the Kendrick Lamar thing, get the Super Bowl commercials, put them all on the internet, and then leave the Super Bowl for the football fans again.
There's a pro to it.
I didn't think about that. What's your favorite classic Super Bowl commercial?
Puppy Monkey Baby.
Puppy Monkey Baby.
It was the Mountain Dew one.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Puppy Monkey Baby was huge in like the 7th or 8th grade.
Absolutely.
We all went to school and we're like, Puppy Monkey Baby.
That was right up there with the, what was the E-Trade baby? The baby that traded stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember being creeped out by that when it first came on. Same with the Puppy Monkey Baby, because that was like early CGI, so everything just had a bit of a haunted look to it.
Yeah. Lifeless eyes kind of thing.
Budweiser was leading the league for a good long time. What the?
The Was Up was sick, and then the horses were pretty cool every year, too.
I still maintain that Budweiser and the Super Bowl is the only reason I know what a Clydesdale is. That's the most I know about horses is beer commercials during football games.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Friend of the show, Johnny Mass, on the phone right now. Buddy, what do you think's worse, porta potty in the winter or the summer? Which one would you rather use?
Well, definitely the winter's better. But here's a hot take. If you got to go and you don't have a porta potty, you don't have paper, what's the best situation? Do you rip a sleeve? Do you use some leaves?
I mean, I think you got to go sock, right?
Sock was the first thing that came to my mind.
Or do you prairie dog all day?
Carry a Gatorade bottle with you at all times. You know, like the squirt ones. Homemade bidet.
Okay, I thought you were saying as like a receptacle, and I'm like, I don't have the aim for that.
No. Just squat down, squeeze it between the cheeks.
Yeah.
Does wonders.
That's going in the camping bag now.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Talking a lot about porta potties, and then we started talking about the weirdest thing that you've ever used to wipe. And we got this call from Tasha.
So my son was in the bush hunting. We have a beaver problem, and he had to go to the washroom, and it was during COVID, so he had a disposable mask in his pocket and used that to wipe.
You know, it's actually a great idea because you think about how many of those masks are still sitting around. Everybody has them at their house if you haven't thrown them out yet.
Oh, 100%.
Should just be marketing for campers now.
Listen, that's what we're all about, right? As we march forward environmentally, we're always trying to find different ways to reuse, recycle, repurpose things. So now you've got all these masks, and most people aren't wearing them anymore, so use them when you're out in the woods.
We had them in the glove box in the car for the longest time, and I would just use them as tissues or napkins in the car, you know? I didn't really have a use for them otherwise.
Well, especially because, like, they're of a decent size, especially if you're like me and you got a big head. Like, that's a lot of material, and then the way they fan out with the
These things
accordion.
were so mass-produced that it's like, I feel like we should still find an alternative way to use them. Like,
There has to be more that we can use them for other than, like, getting on planes or going to government buildings.
I will say, in the winter, it was actually clutch during the pandemic when you just walked around outside with it on. The condensation just kept your face so warm.
That's just it. Like, I'm never the kind of person to wear, like, I'm just not a scarf guy. I understand the value of it. I'm just never going to wear one. My face has never been more warm than the winter of the pandemic.
Think about how many people paid good money for those legit cloth masks a few years ago.
Oh, like the reusable, washable ones?
I had a few of them. What is an alternative use that you could have for all these masks that are just sitting around like 5 years later?
If you get a hole in your sweatpants, you just use that as like patch material.
Yeah.
Just sew it in there, you know, and get it back up to speed.
Honestly, if you have a litter box at home, you could use it you could use it going into the porta potty, actually.
Yeah, you're worried about the smell. Just throw one of those on and give yourself an extra layer. Give it a little spritz of lavender or something like that.
It's crazy how this conversation came full circle, you know?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
It's funny all the uses people have for those COVID masks. A lot of people are saying that they use them for, like, shop rags.
Yeah. I saw somebody was like, when you're checking your oil and you need to wipe the dipstick, you just keep the box of masks that you're not using anymore. Just give it a little whoop.
It's smart, man. It's smart. Someone else texted in and said, I've used them for coffee filters when I ran out before. But we do have friend of the show, Steve, on the phone. You had a different idea besides using it for a coffee filter?
Yeah, I was thinking when you're making, weed butter there, you can use that as the filter to keep the leaves and stuff and just let the butter all sink through.
The perfect strainer.
You know what? This makes perfect sense. Nobody is more creative on how to repurpose stuff than stoners.
For sure, man.
From the people who brought you the pop can pipe.
Yeah.
The weed butter mask.
It's right up there with the apple bong.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, people who smoke see the world in Lego blocks, and I'm so impressed by it.
I will say someone else just texted in and says, I've saved a few masks, and I've thought about even framing them because you never know. They could be collectibles one day.
Selling them on eBay like Beanie Babies?
Hey, it's technically a part of history. Like, these masks are gonna be in a museum one day.
Sure. But I just don't know if you can go on Facebook Marketplace in 20 years and be like, authentic 2021 N95s. I know what I got. No low balls.
If you can prove that it has COVID in it, maybe.
Well, that you probably shouldn't be hanging on to.
It's like all the stickers they had on the floor. You ever go grocery shopping and you still see those and you're like, what a blast from the past that was.
What a throwback to a terrible time in our lives.
Yeah, those are like Heritage Moment stores now. It's like when you go to the Loblaws that was the old Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah. Although the problem is the stickers are more just a sign that they're not cleaning the floors as hard as I'd like them to be cleaning the floors.
And our scars remind us that the past is real.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Did you see yesterday that they dropped the trailer for yet another Jurassic Park movie?
No, I didn't. What?
Jurassic World Rebirth, coming out later on this summer, I believe in July, featuring a whole new cast. They got rid of Pratt.
Oh, no, Chris Pratt.
Scarlett Johansson's in there now.
I feel like she's bigger than this.
I would have thought she'd be bigger. To go from being like one of the main characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the lead actress of the 7th Jurassic movie.
I'm not going to lie. I remember going to the theaters to see the most recent Jurassic World, and I don't even remember it. Like, it sucked.
Jurassic World Dominion?
Yeah.
Dude,
where do they go from here?
Okay, so that's the best part. Apparently, the reason that this movie exists, like the plot, is that the dinosaurs are on the Earth as a follow-up to the other 6 movies. They live in very tropic locations. And it's kind of become a they live there, we live here, and we don't cross over kind
Planet
of
the Apes, basically.
But scientists have discovered that the DNA of the dinosaurs carries some sort of something that will cure all human diseases. So they have to go steal their DNA.
Man, the angle they should do is us going to, like, war with the dinosaurs. That's what they should do. And then it's basically, I don't know, another extinction kind of thing. But
Yeah.
you know what? Make a Fast and the Furious Jurassic Park movie. Didn't they go to space in the last Fast and Furious?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Have them create a meteor that is just a Trans Am crashing into Earth, and it takes it. Vin Diesel has to sacrifice himself for his family.
Right. But he's riding on a brontosaurus.
That's the best way that you could end the Jurassic Park franchise.
How are we at 7? Like, we make fun of Fast and Furious all the time because they're at, 10 and counting.
Yeah.
How are we at 7 Jurassic Park movies?
It's ridiculous.
Has any Jurassic Park movie since the first Jurassic Park movie been somebody's favorite movie of all time?
I mean, I feel like they just progressively got like,
Yeah, like the first one blew people's minds. That first movie with like Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill and everything like that, with the raptors and the clever girl and Newman stealing the DNA.
Yeah.
People were blown away by that. And then every movie that came out after that was just like, oh yeah, the dinosaur thing.
You ever heard that recorder version of the Jurassic Park theme song?
Yes, yeah,
That's
yeah.
every movie after the first one.
And like, it's just so weird because like movies don't all need to be franchises. Not every movie needs to spin off into 19 different things. It's even like the way they keep Indiana Jones alive these days. Do you hear the last one was a huge flop?
I could have bet on that for
Made
sure.
no money. Harrison Ford was asked, is like, oh, what do you think? Because he's got a Marvel movie coming out. They're like, what do you think about like how bad the last movie did? And he just goes, 7448 happens. Even Indiana Jones doesn't care about Indiana Jones
I don't
anymore.
even think they care if the movies are good anymore. They just know that they're going to make movies. I mean, dude, they've made like 20 Minions movies?
That's
They just know that people are going to go see them.
They just, as long as you have certain characters or certain logos on the, we'll all just line up for our slop at the theater.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
I know that there was a Big Lebowski spin-off with the Jesus character. It was like the Jesus
Oh, yeah, I
Moles.
forgot about that, yeah.
I never watched it. I heard it wasn't great. How have we still not gotten an actual follow-up with the dude himself?
Like, what's going on, yeah.
What is he up to these days? That feels like an absolute layup of a sequel for Hollywood to do, and no one's touching it.
I do like someone texted in Dazed and Confused, and I was like, it's just basically like a high school reunion movie, but then I wouldn't mind seeing like what Slater, like the stoner kid's up to.
Yeah.
Also curious if they put Matthew McConaughey in the movie, or is his character in jail?
Is
like,
Matthew McConaughey still hanging out at the school all these years later?
Right?
Someone has to answer that question. Fifth Element is another movie that I think would be good for a sequel.
Bruce Willis isn't doing well, though.
That's the thing. But Chris Tucker, before like Rush Hour and all the other movies, was such a key part of that movie as a radio host. Part of why I wanted to get into radio, might I add.
Yeah.
That I think you could settle it around him, or even Mila Jovovich, who is like the female lead in that movie. Like, there are angles you could still play in what was a really interesting sci-fi universe. Also, let me ask you this question, because I know you're a big Stone Parker guy. Does 2025 not feel ripe for a Team America World Police sequel?
Ooh.
Could you not have a lot of fun with that franchise in this climate?
Well, they took out Kim Jong-il in the first one, right?
Yeah, right.
Now we've got his son empowered with Trump and stuff. Oh, I'd love to see Donald Trump as a puppet.
Dude, puppet Trump, Kim Jong-un, you've got Putin, the Russian guy, puppet Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney or whoever it's going to be.
Some people say they're all puppets already.
They're all puppets, and it's time that they were immortalized. We need the Team America sequel in 2025.
Make Team America great again. I want to say F yes so bad.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You know the Athletic, the New York Times like sports arm, they do the different articles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was looking, they did a survey of about 100 NHL players or so, and they asked them, if you had a one-team no-trade list, what team would be on it? I want to play a little Jeopardy music here. Out of all the teams in the NHL, what do you think is the team that ranked the highest that players do not want to play for?
Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo, number 2. You're very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say, Buffalo Sabres, maybe Edmonton because of the weather out there.
Edmonton not in the top 7 teams that are listed.
Not in the top 7. Buffalo, Edmonton. Is Toronto on there?
Toronto not on there.
Toronto didn't make the list at all?
Toronto is not on the list. Maybe they fall into the other category, but they are not singly named.
What's number 1?
Winnipeg Jets, and it's not even close.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Who wants to move to Winnipeg?
Rounding it off, 49% of players surveyed said if they could block one team from acquiring their services, it would be the Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, imagine if you woke up this morning and your boss called you and was like, hey, you got to pack up and go to Winnipeg. You'd be like, oh, man.
I mean, that literally happened to us at one point in our radio careers. We got the call that we had to move to Winnipeg. And, like, it was fine, but I just couldn't imagine if you were, because you think about some of the other places in the league, right? Like, imagine you're in Dallas or you're in Anaheim or you're in like some of these like real sunny, warm climates.
Yeah.
All right, pack your bags and buy yourself a parka. You're heading to Winnipeg.
I've got tons of family from Winnipeg and they all got out.
They all evacuated.
Nobody's dream is to end up in Winnipeg. Nobody wants to start a family out there.
It's also just crazy because like Winnipeg's a top team right now. They've made the playoffs 7 of the last 10 years. If you have a focus on winning, Winnipeg is not the worst option in the world compared to some other places. But people look at it, someone said, it's so freaking cold. No one has ever said Winnipeg is my forever home.
Yeah.
That's just it, man. It's like the nightlife would have to be pretty hot to get over being minus 27 on average at any given day after a game is over.
Yeah, no, Winnipeg is not ideal.
Would there be, like, what would be on your list? Because, like, we're Canadian, so we can kind of deal with the weather a little bit. Thinking around the NHL, if you could be an NHL player but block one city, is there somewhere you wouldn't want to play?
Winnipeg, Buffalo, Edmonton all make sense. I mean, Ottawa, like, I just can't do.
I think I could handle Ottawa. I like Ottawa as a city.
The team.
I also think Ottawa would be cool as an NHL player because you could probably just walk the streets and no one would have any idea who you are.
You don't even have to walk in Ottawa. You're walking in Canada.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Talking about the worst place that you could get traded as an NHL player, and I'm honestly surprised that more people aren't saying Toronto.
You were pretty quick when we turned the mics off to say that you think Toronto would suck.
Well, I mean, playing for the Leafs, that takes years off of your life.
Honestly, yeah, the scrutiny that you're under, both from the fan base and from the media.
I mean, specifically as a goalie, but you watch some guys before, they almost look like that photo of Obama before he was president and after.
Just the immediate aging process.
Yeah.
And you also have to live in Toronto.
It's expensive as hell.
It's expensive. It can be dangerous depending. Well, I mean, not that NHL players are living in some of those neighborhoods, but like, it can be a rough go living in the city of Toronto.
So much expectations.
I feel like Vancouver would be the same way without the media scrutiny. Like, I just don't feel like the Canucks get scrutinized the way that a Leaf player does.
Yeah.
But you do have to pay about $7 million for an apartment.
I do like the text that we got in from Mark. He said LA, Utah, and Washington for 3 specific reasons. LA because of the earthquakes and the fires.
Living in LA sounds like an absolute nightmare.
He said Utah because of the Sasquatch, and he's worried that his wife might get taken from him. And then he said Washington just because of politics.
Yeah, politics good to avoid. I'm sorry, I'm countering on Utah. Sasquatch is an appeal. You telling me I can go to the Utah Hockey Club or whatever they're going to call themselves, make at least whatever the league minimum few $100,000 a year is, and in between games and in the off season, I can go Sasquatch hunting?
Dude, if you want to see hairy beasts, just go to a Planet Fitness gym. Just go have a shower, man.
I also like this text that we got that said that maybe the worst place to play, unless you are French, would be Montreal. Oh, because you're expected to learn the language to be able to speak it at least.
But you're a god
passively.
in Montreal if you're good.
If you're good.
If you're good.
But if you have even a few bad games.
Still better than living in Detroit, though, thinking about it now.
Okay, well, like, how important is drinking water? Is that what we're focused on?
If we're looking at sketchy places, Detroit has got to be the worst one, man.
Oh, no, because listen, you make enough money that you can live outside of Detroit. You just have to play there. That's fine.
What do you want to do, live in Windsor? Nobody's ever said that either.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You should send a text 762-555. Send a text to us right now. Send a text to us, me and Dalby. Ask a question, a comment, or concern right now.
I feel like I should be looking back over my shoulder at a camera right now.
I really wanted to do the beginning part of the song of the whatever happened to predictability, but that's all I know.
Daytime TV.
Something about the paperboy. First one in here says, what is the maximum weight of an object I can throw at an annoying coworker before it's considered assault?
Is it the weight or is it the density? Because I feel like a stapler doesn't weigh a lot, but you could ding up a coworker with a stapler.
I think you've got it all wrong. It's all about if you get caught.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah. How sneaky are you? What angles do you have to throw the thing?
I mean, if you're in an office, go get some rubber bands and just fling them like you're in elementary school.
Start walking around, firing them like an Old West gunslinger.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can get away with it, how could you get in trouble?
Someone texted and said, what is your favorite broke person meal?
It's got to be the 60-cent packet of ramen.
Ramen, yeah. Anything with eggs is pretty good too. Or you have a Costco hot dog, $1.50.
$1.50, hot dog and a pop. We did the math one time on the show.
I think it was like
$1,100
for the year. You could live off Costco hot dogs. Now you probably have to go to the doctor, but
that's the supersize me I want to see in 2025. I need somebody to undertake the Costco hot dog diet for science, purely for science.
You're gonna lose all your friends just from the burps alone.
You know what? If someone can't hang out with you just because you got Costco hot dog burps, they were never your friend to start with.
Someone said, what is your dream Super Bowl halftime show?
I mean, I would still just love to see a Metallica.
Yeah, I think Weird Al.
I don't think Weird Al would be a great halftime show. No.
You have Weird Al up with all the artists that he's ever parodied?
Okay, if he's doing actual collabs with the artist, now it becomes a spectacle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think Weird Al is better. And this is from someone who's seen Weird Al live on 2 separate occasions. I don't think Weird Al is better live than he is taped.
I'd rather see Weird Al than anyone that's done a halftime show over the past few years, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I think the halftime shows, while they haven't been my particular taste, have actually been well put together lately. I'm curious to see what the Kendrick one looks like this weekend.
Someone said, how do you think Canada's going to do in the Four Nations Cup? I mean, we've got a good roster. I think USA has the best roster.
Well, you're just saying that because Austin Matthews is the captain.
Well, I'm also just hoping that he doesn't play too hard. God forbid the guy gets hurt, man.
Wouldn't that be such a Leaf turn of events?
Oh, my God.
For your best player to get hurt in a mean-nothing international tournament.
Canada's problem is the goaltending, I think. That's where we fall short.
I'll say this. You're being super vague because that's what you do when it comes to making sports predictions. I'm willing to put a number on it. I think Canada comes top 4.
There's a 25% chance of that happening. Someone said, should I break up with my boyfriend before or after Valentine's Day?
Depends on if you think he's going to get you something cool.
I mean, probably do it after, because at this point, he might already have gotten you something.
Right.
You get a free dinner.
The odds are good that you're going to get a gift and you're going to get, listen, for even considering this, you're a scumbag. So let's just lean all the way into it.
Well, you're not a scumbag because there might be reasons for wanting to break up. But I will say, it sucks more going into Valentine's Day after a breakup than celebrating Valentine's Day than, you know.
If you already know you're breaking up with him and you're even thinking about staying together through the holiday, it's because you're greedy. So lean into it, stick around, get the dinner, get the present, and then be like, oh, by the way, let's never do this again. Just pull the Band-Aid off.
Pull the Band-Aid off?
Yeah.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Let's see what he's got.
Good morning. Yeah, today's word is insidious. Yep, insidious.
Oh, yeah.
INSIDIOUS.
Great movie franchise.
Insidious. Anyways, it's having a gradual effect. Subtle. Or treacherous, harmful, but enticing. So that kind of be like skydiving, I guess. You know, even the runway has gradual effect, subtle. However, jumping out of plane is kind of treacherous and harmful of it. It is enticing, I'm sure.
What did he even say?
I'm not going to do it. Anyways, that's about it. Have a great one. Cheers.
I think he's saying skydiving is insidious, but I don't think that's what it means. I think it's more like, I think he hit it where he was like, it's something that has like a slow effect, but it's harmful in the end, or like enticing, but bad for you. It's like a box of donuts in the break room when you're a diabetic.
That's insidious.
That's insidious to bring that to work and tease us all.
You know what's insidious behavior? Dudes who date their friends' exes.
That's insidious.
That's insidious.
That's harmful.
Or if you got kids and it gets quiet in the house, something insidious is usually going down.
There's an insidious moment of the realization of my house may be about to burn to the ground.
Cats are insidious.
Just as an entire species, their pure existence is the definition of insidious.
You think they're being cute coming over to you, then bam, pot of the face.
You know what? Also, because the definition of harmful but enticing, that is raccoons to all those people that think raccoons should be a pet.
Yeah.
No, insidious.
It's also like we're describing what being a Leafs fan is, too.
What's the enticing part, brother? I get the harm, but where's the good?
There's always next year. Insidious, insidious, insidious. Use it wherever you can, all right?
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store. With all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.